for the Chair of the Young Professionals in Australia, Roshni Sharma.
G'day. It is an absolute pleasure and an honour to welcome you all to Australia and to the Young Professionals Day at the Southeast Asia Survey Congress 2019. This morning, as you've heard from Don and Maisie, we are setting the scene for personal growth as young professionals as we navigate our careers, but also for the growth of our industry across national boundaries. The networks that you build today and over the next 3 days will provide a foundation for collaboration across borders to grow your country's geospatial frameworks and enable development and progress in so many ways. Many of us share similar challenges for young professionals in our industry, and these are underpinned by two important questions. One, why are young professionals important to our industry? And two, how are young professionals important to our industry? It is these two questions that I'm hoping that today's activities, workshops and talks will inspire you to think about. For now, I'd like to give you some context about some of the opportunities and challenges that we find in Australia for young professionals in the geospatial industry. And these are motivating new people to enter our industry, maintaining fresh graduates in the workforce, facilitating intergenerational exchange of experience, building soft skills, and bridging the industry-academia gap. In Australia, as an industry, geospatial professionals do not always communicate who we are and what we do very clearly, either to other industries that we work for or to people that we want to come into our industry, the layperson. Children in primary schools and high schools do not always specifically know what a surveyor does, what a GIS professional does, and that these are career options that they could consider. More than that, because of that, they don't know what subjects they'll need to take in high school when they have their subject selection time in year 8, year 10, and then they might not be aware of what subjects or what courses are available to them in university or TAFE. And as we move forward, there are increasing numbers of degrees that are closing down in surveying, in spatial, all across Australia, and no doubt all around the world, because of the way that higher education is now structured. In Australia, while the Surveying Task Force has made a big difference across a number of states in making headway in promoting surveying as a career in schools, and Destination Spatial and A Life Without Limits have helped to make information much more available, there is still a lot of work to be done. We're also working to bridge the industry-academia gap that exists all over the world because of the nature of industry and the nature of academia. For us, we can see that industry can provide relevance and application to academia, and academia can provide innovation into industry collaboration and new ways of thinking to industry. But so often, they just don't speak the same language. The consequences of this are inevitably the type of education that students receive in course content and coverage on the one hand, and somewhat of a disconnect of what it's like in the real world on the other hand. Industry bodies like SSSI, however, are making pretty good headway in bridging this gap. It's only begun and there's a lot of work to be done, but we're making headway in allowing industry and academia to work together to consider emerging careers and future skills shortages. Once students select a spatial or surveying degree, they often get a broad range of coverage for technical topics, but are not always job ready when they come to graduation in terms of soft skills. Some of those intangible skills that lead to career success, such as understanding professional etiquette, how to manage CVs and interviews, how to set career goals, and how to be effective team members. There is a strong demand for soft skills, not only in recent graduates, but in emerging leaders who've been working in the industry for 5 to 10 years. How to manage up, how to set new career goals that encompass leadership and create work-life balance as priorities when you settle down, start families, buy homes, or need to care for aging parents. Recently, the SSSI National Young Professionals Mentoring Program has been an astounding success in delving into this area. In 2018, our inaugural program had 88 graduates. This year's program, which started recently, has 234 participants, an increase of almost 300%. Through this program, we have found great opportunity to support young professionals and young at heart professionals. Feedback has told us that mentors are continually surprised at how much of their daily experiences younger people are thirsty to hear about and to learn, how much yearning there is for career pathway visibility and to learn how people got to where they are. Mentors are finding that their mentees want to hear about their journeys in order to make their own journeys seem more meaningful and to help their own career goals become reframed and to feel more achievable. Feedback is also telling us that mentees are eager to find out what it's like in the real world and that this is something that they don't get a clear picture of when they're at university. But then universities can't do all the work either, it's up to industry as well. Mentees desperately want to learn what their mentors offer them, and they're willing to put in the hard work and initiative to enact what they learn. In Australia, initiatives such as the mentoring program allow us to tap into the talent pipeline to maintain contact with recent graduates, providing them with support at this crucial time in their careers so we don't lose them to other industries like engineering or IT. This is a challenge that we're still learning to provide for, but have learnt that recent graduates, if they have access to guidance on career pathways, networks of peers and elders for support and inspiration, and continuing skill development not only in technical but also in soft skills, they can make a huge change in the industry for the better. It would be amiss of me not to mention that demographically, the generations across the industry have some broad-scale differences in values, ambitions, views, motivators, mindsets and approaches. And this inherently creates challenges and opportunities for young professionals. A recent study published in the Journal of Organisational Behaviour tells us that compared to young at heart professionals, young professionals may value different things. They may value job security less, favouring work that provides them with a sense of value and makes a difference in the world, as well as greater work-life balance, sometimes a work-to-live approach. Young professionals value flexibility in working conditions and autonomy. They tend to be more competitive, more independent, more self-focused, more self-reliant, and less committed to their organisations as people used to be. They are driven to self-education and to pursue higher education over time, perhaps in response to highly competitive and fast-evolving job markets internationally, driven by rapid technological advancements and developments and trends towards more mobile careers. Millennials are seeking careers where they do many new things, as opposed to Gen Y, who have spent many years doing one thing and doing it well. Young professionals also appear to have a tendency to seek out leadership, which builds their personal fulfillment in work and satisfies their individual growth needs within a business context, as opposed to management, which focuses on the individual meeting business needs as priority over self-focused needs. Past management practices cannot be assumed to work in the modern context, and today's practices cannot be presumed to work in the future. With digital disruption and a rapid rate of technological advancement today, innovation has come to the forefront of business thinking. But a paper recently written by the Surveyor General of New South Wales, Narelle Underwood, the first woman in her position and the youngest person in 200 years, and you'll hear from her later today, has found that increasingly, age has a negative impact on innovation, suggesting that companies are having issues with intergenerational collaboration. Diversity and inclusion in other metrics such as gender, cultural background, life experience, etc., has shown to have statistically significant positive correlation to fostering innovation, while age has a statistically significant high negative correlation to innovation. Why is this the case? Perhaps it links back to the intergenerational differences in values, attitudes, and approaches in the workplace. But why don't we reframe this as an opportunity? So, my first question was, why are young professionals important? Young professionals are, without question, the future of the industry. They are important because we have worked hard our whole lifetimes to build a legacy, and succession planning with young professionals in mind will be the key to equipping them with the insights, guidance, support, inspiration to build on these legacies and not let them disappear, and we don't want them to disappear. The evolution of our industry will occur not only with technological innovation, but also with the generational cultural shifts, and we need to act as an industry with both of these in mind. And the second question is, how are young professionals important? Young professionals are the next wave of people who will assume leadership in businesses and in industry as a whole. They are and will be the catalyst for inspiring the next generation to keep our industry going. They will also straddle surveying and geospatial and the other industries that we work with and lead collaborations. If we can support them at key stages: 1, learning about the industry as children; 2, supporting their initial entry into the industry; 3, successfully entering the workforce after graduation and staying there, not going to other industries; and 4, entering their first leadership positions as they've been working for a few years, we can provide them with the necessary support as an industry to succession plan for a great future. So a couple of insights here from things that I've learned and been part of some discussions over the past few days. The first is that surveying, by its nature, tends to be reasonably fixed. It's very established, it's got a long history. But as new technologies come up with AI, digital disruption, these are going to affect white-collar workers, unlike previous waves of disruption. And so surveying needs to adapt. There is no other choice, otherwise some other industry is going to come in and fill that niche. We don't want that. Spatial, on the other hand, by its very nature, changes constantly, and it's actually quite hard to define because of that inherent change. So one of the keys that we need to learn of how to do is we need to think about how we communicate ourselves as an industry to the other industries that we work with and also within ourselves. Because of the nature of surveying and the nature of spatial, they're very intertwined, and I think it's time we started to look at what our similarities are instead of what our differences are. This is vital because we as an industry globally need to focus on having better visibility of career pathways, not only for children in primary school and high school, because for them, they don't understand that it's really a career most of the time. But also we need to think about visibility of career pathways for people who are at uni, at TAFE, and recent graduates, so that they can keep engaged in our industry and they don't drift off to somewhere else. In terms of ongoing professional development, we need to think about the visibility of career pathways over time for everybody, no matter what age they are. This is being done for SSSI are working on this in terms of Gabby's doing a lot of work in leading the National Education Committee to develop a body of knowledge, and I know that in EURESA in America there is similar work being done. In Malaysia, there's a lot of countries that are working on this, and it's vital. In terms of certification as well, it's really important because if we don't get certification, we don't have a badge that says we do it better than others. This is why we can deliver you quality that some other random person carrying a GPS out in the field who is, they've done a Bachelor of Arts. We can deliver much better quality. This is why our industry is important. So it's vital that we break down our silos and how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to others. This also enables us to embrace new technologies. As the UNGGIM say, leave no one behind. It's time we really started to think about how we do that on a daily basis. I also think it's vital that we embrace soft skills. As a profession, our culture doesn't necessarily facilitate that often. We tend to think of surveyors as people who are by themselves, out in the field, don't talk to anyone, that's it. But that isn't true anymore. Think about your work as a surveyor. Is that really you? No, it's not. These days, we are the custodians of data quality, and we also tend to sit in offices. So why not change the impression that general public and the rest of the world has of us? It's time that changed. And this is important because it brings diversity into the workforce. We're not all old white men, sorry. I also think we need to look at other industries and how they've managed the challenges that we're facing now. I know that engineering has gone through a similar set of challenges to what we're going through now. We need to look at the examples of others. not just inwards. We also need to break down the industry-academia gap, because this is vital. We need to facilitate better education of the young people coming in to facilitate the future of our industry. And this also helps to change the culture of our industry. So as we move through the rest of today and over the next 3 days, I really hope that this has given you something to think about. How young professionals are important to our industry and why young professionals are important to our industry. Thank you.